Hello, my dear friends, and welcome. My name is Vickie Hadge, and this is Even So It Is Well. MS is oftentimes thought of as that wheelchair disease. Before I was diagnosed, I thought the same thing. The only references I had were Annette Funicello, and if you don't know who she is, Google Beach Blanket Bingo, and the occasional fundraising awareness campaigns for MS organizations. They all showed people in wheelchairs. And ridiculously, when I was diagnosed, one of my first fears was, am I going to end up confined to a wheelchair? I now know better. First, patients are not confined to a wheelchair. They are liberated by them. Mobility aids enable us to do things, to get out and participate in life. Without mobility aids like wheelchairs and rollators and walkers and walking sticks, some would be confined to their homes or their beds. So I'm now no longer fearful of using aids. I see them as liberating tools. Second, most MS patients do not require a wheelchair, ever. Depending on the research you're reading, it can range from 60 to 75% of patients do not require a wheelchair throughout the course of their disease. Some symptoms of MS can be seen, like the inability to walk, or muscle spasms that cause involuntary movements, or weakness or stiffness that can stop us from moving around normally. But there's a whole host of invisible symptoms, and they can affect us and our quality of life. It can be very frustrating when people can't see what we're experiencing, and it can be challenging to try to explain or share what we're experiencing. On the outside, we look fine, but on the inside, it's a whole different story. I'm going to share some of the invisible symptoms that I experience. In no particular order, here are 5 of my invisible symptoms. Number 1, fatigue. MS fatigue is no joke. It's not simply just being tired. For me, it is the feeling of having no energy and struggling to do normal day-to-day tasks like take a shower and dry my hair. Do any of you need to rest after your shower or sit down after drying your hair? Let me know in the comments below. Now, it's not every day that I experience this type of fatigue, but when I do, it can be incredibly challenging. My fatigue can be affected by diet, temperature, stress, and of course, when I don't sleep well. I find one of the best things I can do to help manage my fatigue is to eat as well as I can. There are 2 recent studies that show that a diet that is low fat and is primarily whole food plant-based significantly decreases fatigue and increases energy levels. Eating more complex carbohydrates helps me with a lot of my fatigue. Having a steady source of fuel that doesn't cause spikes and crashes in my glucose helps me have more consistent energy levels throughout the day. Next, cognition issues. Losing my train of thought or being forgetful is pretty common for me. It is definitely a challenging part of living with MS for me and for many MS patients. Did you know that 2 of the top reasons MS patients stop working are fatigue and cog fog? Yes, 2 of the invisible symptoms are responsible for huge losses of income and independence for many MS patients. It's really hard to explain to someone how difficult it is to not be able to think clearly or recall facts. It can be really scary too. Our brains are not functioning as they should, and they may get worse as our disease progresses. This may interfere with how we're going to financially support ourselves, and it can be one of the hardest parts of living with MS. But there is something we can do about it. To give my brain the best chance to stay in tip-top shape, I ensure that I'm feeding it the most nutrients-dense foods possible, ensure my diet includes healthy omega-3 fats, get a good night's sleep, and exercise regularly to keep my neuroplasticity going. And I practice mindfulness to keep my stress levels as low as I can. Another of my invisible symptoms is numbness. This is really a common symptom for many MS patients and is often one of the first symptoms that sends us to the doctor. I have baseline numbness on my left side in general, but most prominently on my outer 2 fingers and my toes. And when I'm having a flare, it can increase dramatically. Recently, I had a very bad, awful day, and I could not feel from my knee down, which led to challenges in walking. But because I was aware of what was causing the stress, I was able to take steps to reduce it by meditating, resting, and taking a relaxing bath. It's really hard to explain to others what the numbness feels like because it can change daily. Yes, it's sort of like when you sleep on your arm wrong and you wake up with a numb hand, but the numbness never ever goes away completely. It causes challenges because I've lost sensation. For example, I can't pick up small things like earrings or earring backs, and I sometimes can't work the buttons on the steering wheel of my car because I can't distinguish which button my finger is on or if it's on a button at all. And I often drop things, especially pens and pencils and cutlery. Did any of you experience this? Let me know in the comments below. Next is tingling, burning, or strange sensations. Along with the numbness, I can get other really strange or crazy sensations. For example, when I'm exercising, like when I'm walking fast or doing Zumba, the bottom of my foot starts to get this burning, tingling sensation. And it sometimes feels like there's blisters forming on the bottom of my foot. I literally will take off my sneaker and my sock and look for blisters, but there's never one there. For me, it's a combination of increased body temperature and the repetitive impact. These sensations typically will settle down in a few hours or overnight, but it can be really uncomfortable. I also can get spasms in my leg that are invisible. Sometimes they're really visible because my leg actually will move, but sometimes it's just a tightness, like I'm wearing a compression sock or my skin has shrunk and become too tight. This one's a bit more frustrating for me because I can't always predict when it will happen or how long it will last, and it can really interfere with my sleep sometimes. I can't always do anything to manage these symptoms. They are what they are, but I do try. I stretch twice a day, and when I'm having difficulty with the tightness that keeps me from sleeping, I take a muscle relaxer called baclofen. I am not anti-medicine. Yes, I do try to manage my symptoms with diet and lifestyle changes, but there are times when acute symptoms need medical intervention. If you're experiencing symptoms that are interfering with your quality of life, number one, check in with yourself. How are you doing with things you can control? Diet, sleep, exercise, stress management, and then check with your doctor. There's no reason to needlessly suffer. If your MS or chronic illness is being a jerk, you absolutely should work with your doctor, and if medications are needed, by all means, take them. Next is depression and anxiety. Upwards of 50% of MS patients suffer from depression or anxiety. This can be debilitating, really, really debilitating. When there's anxiety and depression because of our disease, it can make it challenging to live well. It's hard to eat right, it's hard to exercise, and it's hard to sleep. And when we're not able to do all these things, our symptoms can flare. And then our depression and anxiety can get worse. And then our symptoms can flare. Yeah, you get the idea. To manage my anxiety, I keep up with my mindfulness practice. I try to take 10 mindful breaths every time I get into bed and 10 mindful breaths before I get out of bed. I also try to do guided meditation each day. I'm currently using the Deepak Chopra app, but I have used Calm, Headspace, and Insight Timer in the past, and I've enjoyed them as well, and I will put links to all of these in the description below. I also see a therapist every 6 to 8 weeks, and pretty much have since my diagnosis. I find it so helpful to talk with someone who's objective, outside my circle, about what I'm feeling and what I'm experiencing. She is very insightful and offers me tips and strategies to help when things are getting tough. Our mental health is just as important as our physical health, and I believe we could all be helped by therapy as we go through the ups and downs of our journey with MS. Lastly, I pay attention to my spiritual life. I attend worship services regularly, and the rituals and messages and community are all part of my well-being. My meditations are often times of prayer, and this brings me comfort and peace. If you're not religious or don't attend church, I encourage you to explore your spiritual side. Do you gain comfort from music or being out in nature? Are there rituals in your life that bring you peace? There are lots of other invisible MS symptoms. Some of them are vision problems, vertigo, tingling, the MS hug, Lermit's sign, Uthoff's phenomenon, bowel and bladder control issues, pain, weakness, itching, endophagia, trouble swallowing. It can be very challenging to live with these invisible symptoms and to convey them to others, what it's like. I invite you to do all that you can to mitigate these symptoms: diet, exercise, sleep, and stress reduction, and work with your doctor on appropriate medications when needed. The question of the day is, what are your invisible symptoms? How do you manage them? And how do you explain them to others? Let me know in the comments below. That's it for today, my dear friends. Thank you so much for joining me. To help this channel and the algorithm, please like this video, hit the thumbs up button under the video, subscribe, and hit the notifications bell. Until next time, my dear friends, be well.